Alright, game number 2 here in the semifinals. I gotta stop saying alright. Ugh. At any rate, yeah, this is the Love Your Girlfriend 8-man Invitational Ironclad Challenge. Well, it's not the Ironclad, not officially, but it's the 8-man challenge nonetheless. They pit 4 of their players up against 4 other players to see who could take it all home today. But more importantly, that it's a tournament to introduce the team, try and get a little bit of positive PR going, guys. I mean, let's be honest, love the girlfriend or not, I think a lot of what happens is they get this bad rep from Reddit. They haven't done anything to deserve it, really. But this tournament is a good way to start stepping forward and showing them, like, look, we're not scamming. Here's $100. We don't even need it. If our players lose, other people can have it. Like, just enjoy the show. And that's kind of like what they put forward today. Now, of course, we see a couple of sponsors here on the screen. SC2 Replay Stats, as well as TV Android Canada. I think I can't really read that on my thing because, of course, I'm in game. But there's a third one that's not on the overlay. I'm sorry about that to them. We're not leaving them out because I didn't get the logo for the cast today. So you check that out all, of course, on Love Your Girlfriend's website. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, spawning here in the lower right corner of Heavy Rain, it's going to be the blue Protoss player from IVD, Puck. And of course, if you guys are in my Twitch chat right now and you've got Puck, if you're subscribed to Puck, I encourage you to spam those blue pucks to show a little bit of support. But his opponent in the top left from the team Love Your Girlfriend, it's going to be the Red Terran player, Cmotok. So Cmotok went for some really weird stuff. There's no questioning that. Again, Cloaked Banshees, not your typical TVP go-to. Following up with tanks and a Raven, really cool to see, but sad to be ineffective. And I gotta stress, guys, if Puck had opened up any other way that game, I really think Cmotok's build could have worked. At least at the start. I don't know if it would have won him the game outright. But like, let's assume from Puck had gone for Blink or something, right? He's got a couple Stalkers available. He's got Blink on the way. But guess what? No detection. Banshees kill, like, let's say 12 workers before they're chased off. Bam. That's Puck then having to invest in the workers instead of getting his Robo up, instead of getting those Immortals out, instead of getting the Colossus as a follow-up to that. So, I mean, a lot of what happened in that game for Cmotok just, unfortunately, like, reverse snowballed off of his opening not doing the damage he wanted it to, and Puck luckily being prepared for it. But this game, I think we'll see something a little more standard out of Cmotok. Heavy Rain is a map that does, of course, allow for really nice drops to go off. I do want to point out the massive amount of dead space in this base, so it's really hard to cover with cannons and Templar from every angle. You're gonna have to get a lot of defense down and pay a lot of attention if you want to catch drops. But without that second gas and the starport coming down, I'm imagining this is not going to be... Oh, this is actually going to be a bit of an older school build, I think, where he'll go for 7 Marines, well, it's usually 6 or 7 Marines, and 3 Hellions. And what you'll do is you'll either come across the map and completely elevator everything to the main, or you'll attack into the main with the Marines dropping the mineral line, chase the probes out, and come in with the Hellions to kind of clean house. But we'll see if that ends up happening or not. Again, this is a bit of an older school build, and for good reason. Okay, I take that back. Not investing in future Hellions, just the one for now. The Widow Mines are a little more effective. And of course, between the threat of Oracles as well as the Mothership Core, it's a big part of why you don't see this build invested into so much anymore. But Mothership Core coming across the map like this really early is quite bold. It's going to scout and see this is coming, but that means it's not going to be at home to defend. It's, of course, the dropship, or sorry, the medevac. Man, I'm casting too much Starbow. The medevac, not the dropship, will have the boosters to come across the map and come to Puck's base a little bit sooner than Puck will be able to respond with. Now, he is going for a Twilight Council this time, and he currently has no forms of detection. I think he knows this is coming, though. He's got to throw down like a Forge or a Robo or something. Unless he truly thinks this is Hellions because of the one Hellion that's over here. But these two, okay, it's 1 Widow Mine, not even 2. But still, that 1 Widow Mine is going to get a decent amount of damage off. If you can get this to hit the Mothership Core and kill the Mothership Core, more power to you. But what Puck's going to have to worry about is possibly burning an overcharge already this early. Now, if he can hold this off without burning an overcharge, more power to him. It's possible, but not easy. Again, the Widow Mine's almost guaranteed to one-shot whatever it connects with, and typically you're going to want to be spamming it on the Stalkers or the Mothership Core. It will not one-shot the Mothership Core, but it'll still do a lot of damage. Gets the overcharge that he wanted. He's still tickling this natural base with this Hellion. It's a bit funny to see because it's not really accomplishing much, but draws the attention of Cmotok away, I guess. If you guys are new to the Game Hard Overlay, sorry, I see someone asking in chat. Down here, the score will always be displayed, whether it's a best of 3 or best of 5. The finals will be a best of 5, but these two semifinals will be a best of 3. He'll get the probe here, so no pylon's going to go for Puck anytime soon, but unfortunately, again, Cmotok's kind of limited on what he can do. We're going to have the Observer out here in just a moment for Puck, so that Widowmine is less of a threat and more of a nuisance. I like that Puck has actually kept all of his units in the main, though. It's a lot easier to defend 22 probes in one base than it is spread across 2. And because he doesn't know the threat of where that drop's going to come from, this actually makes a lot more sense. Now, there's no more overcharge available, which is why he's starting to transfer them back. He no longer has that free safety in the main. But there's Stalkers on the way. Stimpak has been started at a much more appropriate timing. We got Concussor Shells combined with the Marauders will make this a lot easier to chase down Stalkers if given the opportunity. Oh, don't go off on the probes. Okay, it goes off on the probes. So 2 kills here. But as stated before, more of a nuisance than a threat as the Observer is going to allow this to get cleaned up. Cmotok, through coincidence, will actually find the probe here. Hey, who are those guys? Yeah! Doesn't go for the kill, though. I really wish he would have done that. If he had been paying more attention, he would have prevented that pylon from coming down, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Third CC coming down on location? Is it with the question mark? I guess not. So I wasn't sure what he was doing there with that SCV, but just moving it out for the time being. Now here's what's really key about forcing out that earlier overcharge out of Puck. Well, actually, hold the phone. We got a bit of a fight coming down the middle of the map. Does pick off one Stalker, and Blink is revealed on top of this. But what I was going to say before is, like, one of the big things about picking off that overcharge, or rather forcing that overcharge out. Ooh, Puck's going to see this. He's going to blink to intercept. Oh, he's going to try to, but fails, unfortunately. He doesn't quite get there in time, so Cmotok may get into the base uncontested. But again, the point that I'm trying to get out before I ADD again is there's only going to be 1 overcharge available. There will not be enough energy for 2. So if he drops in the main, overcharges, he can pick up and go to the natural instead. Puck trying to anticipate the drop coming from the west, unfortunately, will be in the wrong spot as it comes more towards the northern part of the base. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of lack of vision here, but I think Puck should be able to hold this. Combined with Blink and this overcharge, Cmotok's limited on what he can do here. Not to mention, if Puck focuses on the medevacs, there's no escape, but unfortunately the main has the overcharge burn there, so now pushing into the natural. He has forces rallied across the map here too. Can Puck hold on to this is going to be the big question. This is a really big push coming out of Cmotok, and again, the Marauders are going to make this even more powerful. Once he gets through these Zealots, I mean, that's all. They're the beefy sort of meat shields for these Stalkers. Stalkers are not going to contend too well once these Marauders get involved. Nice Blink will juke out and keep that one Stalker alive a little bit longer. Probes have been pulled into this, but with some good stutter step, Cmotok's actually getting a lot of damage done here. Perhaps a little more than Puck was ready for, but again, without that overcharge, it's so hard to defend. But these Marauders are doing a great job of trying to chase on top of the blinking Stalkers, which are so evasive, so elusive, but perhaps getting a little bit greedy, going for the medevacs. Does almost get those Stalkers, but Puck, with like the most insane blink control, keeps these Stalkers alive. For those who are confused, like why they're not dying, they're disjointing the projectile of the Marauder by blinking away at just the right moment. So again, Puck maintains these Stalkers and actually holds this push. This is a push that wasn't designed to be like LOL GG I all in, but it was meant to do a lot more damage than what got done, and a large part of that is due to Puck's great micro. But here comes the second round of an attack, and again, while there might be an overcharge available for the natural, that means Cmotok picks up and goes to the main. So Puck has to be really on the ball about holding this. Guardian Shield would be fantastic against the Marines, but it's not going to reduce the Marauder fire nearly as much. So he may opt to go for Force Fields to try and lock units into the overcharge, but again, medevacs will help solve that issue. These medevacs are low on energy combined with health. It's going to be a little bit scary here for Puck. But now he's got those Marauders out, can start dealing with the Immortals can start dealing with the Marauders better, but unfortunately loses one Immortal right away. The overcharge will push this back a little bit, but Cmotok, as predicted, will just lift up to the main, and Puck is in a bit of trouble. Because, of course, Cmotok wants to fight this on the choke, wants to force Puck to take a terrible engagement, tries to cut away from these Zealots, and again, the medevac's really low. He's got to be careful. He keeps those back, as the Stalkers could easily focus them down. But picks up and unloads to the natural once again. I think these SCVs, unless that was intentionally pulled for a repair, that's got to be a big miss rally, I imagine. Because it's not like an SCV train that came across the map. It's just a couple of SCVs that are being sent back home. Kind of wish they would have repaired up this damn medevac before they left, but hey, whatever works. I gotta give it to Puck though, guys. Again, he holds this with a very minimal overcharge, but still that ratio declines, and he's only gonna have one at most for any of these engagements. And of course, he would love to have enough to do a time warp combined with the overcharge, but I think Cmotok's starting to misclick a lot here. He's got the Reaper coming out? That's gotta be a mistake. We got Ghost Academy on the way behind this too. Ghost Academy, of course, is fantastic. If you guys don't know, in the most recent patch of StarCraft 2, the Mobius reactor was built into the Ghost. You no longer have to invest into that researching it. So Ghost will spawn with enough energy to pop off an EMP right off the bat. But coming here, this force is not looking too good, but it's meant to distract Puck. It's supposed to keep Puck's eyes at the natural instead of the main, where Cmotok's forces have gone full force. Unloaded here with 2 full medevacs. He's going to stem right into this mineral line. Puck sees this though, and he pulls immediately, but then evacuating the natural may allow Cmotok to move in there with his outside forces. Some stalkers do get focused down, and these medevacs are not being targeted by Puck. Trying to focus down on these marauders might end up hurting him more than helping him. But still on the front lines here, big threat from Cmotok. Puck is going to try and hold this. He's got an overcharge in 2 seconds. But looks like Cmotok is actually driven out of the main, though Zealot Weapons were enough to hold this off, and Puck, again, with some pretty good defense here. Very rarely do you find yourself praising the Protoss player for good defense, because oftentimes it's the Terran player who's under constant siege and constant attack. But Cmotok has not been able to break Puck, and Puck has not been able to push out of his own base. That being said, we got some Archons on the way with no Ghosts in the front lines. These are going to be perfect for soaking these hits. But Widow Mines, let's not forget, do bonus damage versus shields, and these Archons are going to be in a bit of danger. With the Observer in position, though, Mothership Core combined with that Nexus are going to push those back. But here come the Ghosts. Again, a little bit late to the party, but they'll be here eventually. Better late than never, I think the saying goes. Zealot's going to charge forward and unfortunately not get a lot of damage done as they try and soak those hits. But Puck is bleeding out forces, guys. And while he's been defending pretty well so far, a lot of this has banked around his energy, forcing fights around the Nexus, getting those overcharges off. He's got no Storm. He's got no Templar. He's got level 2 armor coming up. But unfortunately for him, well, actually, maybe this small Zealot counterattack will get a little bit done. But I was going to say, unfortunately for Puck, like the longer he goes without AoE, the harder it's going to be to hold this. Again, he's got the Templar Archives, but no Storm researched. A couple Zealots will catch the entire force back home at Cmotok, and Puck isn't getting a lot of damage done across the field, unfortunately. If he goes to take a third, honest to God, Puck's just going to lose this game, as there's no way he's going to be able to defend it. Now, I should say a small correction. I said no AoE. The Archons, of course, do a bit of area of effect damage, but not a lot, and of course, they're basically melee units, so connecting to a stimmed Bioforce that's stutter-stepping around is a lot easier said than done. But, you know, Archons with only 10 health, a couple EMPs will make these into the most laughable units in Puck's army. So, of course, now we finally have those Storms on the way. We got some new Templar warping in afresh and new. And I kind of joked about Puck losing the game if he takes his third, but if Cmotok sits back for way too long and lets Puck secure this third, then Puck's actually going to be really far ahead in this game. Not because of upgrades, but because of how good Storm Tech is going to be early on. Of course, for Ghost Wars versus Templar Wars, it's always a bit fickle. You're always a bit worried, like, you know, will I get sniped? Will I get EMP'd? Or will I get the feedback off? Will I get the Storm off? So Puck, he showed us in the last series versus Cmotok, he's very capable and willing to keep Templar more towards the back of his army to make sure he doesn't lose them early on. But this Biomine push, something that's become very popular recently, is on the front lines here. Again, these Widow Mines, they're mostly here to create weird little zoning effects combined with the splash damage to bonus damage to shields will take out the Zealots on the front line. Zealots, of course, are the beefy, the hardy, and the most difficult part of a Protoss army to deal with, but once you chew through those, everything behind it is incredibly fragile, or behind them, rather, is incredibly fragile. Even these Immortals with a hardened shield are going to have a hard time. Combined with the EMPs, the damage from Marines is going to be fantastic, pushing forward into this. But backs on up for now. I think 2 drops? No, 3 drops. No, 4 drops here. So almost a Doom drop going to go to the main. There are Zealots waiting, so Cmotok backs up immediately. It's kind of one of those like, nope, 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 nope scenarios. But okay, Cloak is going to be coming up here in a moment. And Cloak might be a good way to try and push forward. There's not a lot of observers out for Puck, but he does have enough of them. And they have been keeping a pretty good eye on the army. This is a really scary engagement for both players, though. This choke could both be like the greatest and the worst thing ever. As we see, combined with the EMPs, the splash damage from the Widow Mines are doing a little bit of damage here, even stripping off about half the shields of that Immortal. But actually, with no Stalkers, has no real way to really engage those easily. EMPs do go off, but not too many units, so 2 EMPs almost wasted there. Double Medevacs dropping here towards the natural. There's a cannon to defend, but there's 8 Marauders. Sorry, not 8, but instead 6 Marauders to drop here instead. A couple Storms going to go off, and it looks like these Marauders will barely escape due to their awesome health pool. And Probes have been pulled to try and deal with this, but Probes can't out-damage Medevacs, so Puck going to take some worker losses here. I gotta give it to Cmotok. He's been able to pick off 31 probes over the course of this game. Not too shabby, considering Puck's been really locked into these two bases. But, of course, oh god, it's like the North Korean and the South Korean border. You know war is going to happen if anyone's in the wrong spot at the wrong time, but Cloak Ghost going to get some pretty good EMPs off. These Zealots completely without shields, but the Archons are still standing strong. Where are the storms behind this, though? There's the Templar and the Natural. A drop goes off in the main while this is happening. And Cmotok is doing a lot of damage. Puck loses his army, and unfortunately, this is just a terrible spot for him to engage in. Ghosts are just doing way too much. Good game is going to be called, and Cmotok will even up the series now 1-1 and take us to game number 3, which will be on the map Yansu.